Welcome to the Candidate Forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. My name is Barbara Young, and I'm from the League of Women Voters of the LaGrange area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We're happy to provide this service for the community. At this time, I would ask that you please turn off cell phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask that you refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or opposition of a candidate. No campaign literature may be passed out in this room, and feel free to put your campaign bling on once again after you leave. And I understand some of the literature is downstairs. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst has submitted 3 questions to the candidates in advance, as well as collecting questions from the community via email. And of course, you in the audience can also submit questions. No cards and pencils have been provided on which to submit your questions. Questions will be screened for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness to the office being discussed. Please signal a League volunteer when your question is ready for submission. Also, signal a volunteer if additional note cards are needed. Realize that we may not get to all the questions. Each candidate will be able to present a 1-minute introductory statement. The order will be determined alphabetically by last name within each ward. Then, questions will be asked, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. And closing statements will likewise be in the same alphabetical rotation and will also be 1 minute. League of Women Voters of Elmhurst members are keeping time, and the candidates, I ask that you strictly adhere to the time limits. When they hold up the stop sign, you may finish your sentence. I'm going to introduce the candidates. We have for Ward number 1, Rian Carl Fazzini, Angie Sutherland, and Jennifer Varimus. Ward 2, Jacob Medding and Karen Schenko, and Ward 7, Rex Irby and Mark Mulliner. Also, at the end of this particular forum, please don't leave, because we will have a candidate for Ward 6, Guido Nardini, present a brief statement since his opposition candidate is not present today. So also, one brief announcement. Today's forum is being videoed, recorded by Elmhurst TV, which you'll be able to view on the League website and YouTube channel and at elmhursttv.com. It's not being live streamed, but please encourage your fellow residents to view the video. Okay, and with that, I think we can begin. We're going to start with one of the first questions, which we're going to begin with their opening statements. And as I said, they're going to be going in alphabetical order. And so we're going to begin with candidate Fazzini from Ward 1. Welcome.
Thank you for hosting. Hello, everyone. My name is Rian Fazzini. I am a college student at the College of DuPage. I'm a political science major. This is my first time running for office. Part of my platform is homeowner autonomy. I believe that no resident should have to ask the city permission to improve their household or property. I believe you should be able to renovate whatever room you want to. For example, if you want to redo your bathroom, want to replace your fencing, you shouldn't have to ask the city permission. I'm going to be a rubber stamp on anti-taxes, so I will not be voting for any tax increase of any kind, and I will be voting against, I'll be voting against any kind of tax increase, and I will only vote for anything that reduces or abolishes a specific tax. For example, I think the exit tax is an unconstitutional tax. It's because we're pushing out residents that want to move out because of high taxes, and then we proceed to kick them one more time on the way out. So I'm Ryan Fazzini. I'm running for Ward 1.
Thank you. Now candidate Sutherland.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Angie Sutherland, and I'm running for alderman in the 1st Ward. In 2019, my family and I chose Elmhurst as our forever home. We have 2 young kids and a dog, and we love everything that Elmhurst has to offer. I'm a first-generation American, and I grew up in the Chicago area, both the city and the suburbs. I graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign with a bachelor's in actuarial science. I'm a fellow with the Society of Actuaries and a member of the American Academy of Actuaries. Prior to moving to Elmhurst, I served 4 years on the elected local school council in Chicago. I'm running for alderman because I want to bring a fresh perspective and a new energy to local government. I would be the first millennial, woman of color, and actuary to join city council. I am deeply passionate about ensuring that all voices are heard and included when it comes to the planning of our city for today and tomorrow. I'm a data-driven leader, and I will use my math skills and financial background to ensure our budget is responsible, equitable, and headed in the right direction.
Okay, opening statement from candidate Varimas.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you to the League for hosting this forum. It has been my pleasure to serve the residents of Ward 1 on the Elmhurst City Council for the past 2.5 years. I have diligently worked to protect the taxpayers, improve public safety, and enhance the quality of life for all. I have established working relationships with the residents, city staff, and community stakeholders. My ability to work well with others has directly benefited Ward 1 residents. As your alderman, I have voted for a 0% tax increase twice, created new traffic and safety standards to make Ward 1 a better place to walk, ride, and drive, spearheaded the efforts to successfully establish the first neighborhood park in an underserved area, created a public art mural program, initiated efforts to keep downtown Elmhurst vibrant and safe. I will continue to lead with integrity, engage the community, conduct through due diligence on the most vital issues of our ward, and make Elmhurst the best place and make the best informed decision asked of our council. Thank you. To keep moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Medding.
Thank you. My name is Jake Medding, and I was born and raised in Elmhurst, growing up in the Mary Queen of Heaven and Immaculate Conception parishes. I attended Elmhurst schools and ultimately went to Elmhurst University, where I earned my bachelor's in political science. While at Elmhurst, I was president of multiple organizations, such as the Student Government Association, and I also led student service groups through Habitat for Humanity. Because of my involvement, I was named the 2012 Senior of the Year. In 2015, I returned to Elmhurst to earn my MBA. Currently, I work for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation as their annual fund director. In 2018, my wife and niece and I chose to make Elmhurst our home. I serve on both the Elmhurst Economic Development Commission and the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, while my wife is also involved on the board of Access Sports. We are both invested in Elmhurst for the long term. In 2021, I participated in the Elmhurst Citizens Police Academy, and this fall, I started an Elmhurst Student Philanthropy Group, which teaches Elmhurst High School juniors the business of philanthropy. These volunteer opportunities clarified for me a lifelong dream of running for public office.
Thank you. And candidate Schenkel.
Hi. Thank you for hosting this forum and this opportunity to share our perspectives today as candidates. I have lived in Elmhurst since 2010 with my family. We first moved here for the great location and amenities, then continued to stay for the schools and our friends. I am honored to have this opportunity to run for alderman of the 2nd Ward, as well as to continue to contribute to what makes Elmhurst a great place to live. I am currently a reference librarian at Oak Brook Public Library with a master's degree in library and information science, along with over 20 years of experience in software development and project management. I'm very invested in the diverse community that is North Elmhurst, and I want to represent a point of view for economic diversity within the City Council, with proven leadership skills and excellent research abilities, as well as encourage broader participation from a variety of community members and residents, allowing more voices in the decision-making process and planning. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby.
Thank you. I am Rex Irby, candidate for Ward 7, and I am humbled to have this time courtesy of the League of Women Voters. Over 27 years ago, my wife and I came to Elmhurst. We chose Elmhurst due to its great centrality, access to highways, and low property taxes. We are blessed 5 children went through D205 via Jackson, Bryan, and York. I was self-employed in IT for 17 years, and then I transitioned to the solar energy and started a new company. My accounting and audit experience still pays today as I develop solar projects across the country. My experiences have allowed me to provide input into the sustainability task force for the city here. They promoted LED streetlights and started a push for electric vehicles. The COE property tax portion the last 5 years have gone up 9.4%, not down. I'm running to keep Elmhurst affordable on that note, and will be accountable to all my residents to look for sustainable and fresh ideas. My passion for public service comes from the desire to help others. Now that the kids are grown, I'm ready and committed to give back and serve Elmhurst. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, candidate Mulliner.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum. It's been a wonderful opportunity for people to get to know the candidates in the city of Elmhurst. Little background on me, I was born and raised in Elmhurst. It's my hometown. I love this community. I've been serving the city of Elmhurst for a long time, pretty much through my entire adult life in some one way or another. During the time that I've been on the city council, we've had a number of different things that we've been able to succeed in. First of all, I'm very fiscally responsible. During the past 5 years, we've had a 0% increase in our property tax. We've done economic development throughout the city of Elmhurst, which has been beneficial by keeping the taxes down, by providing other opportunities. Public safety, we've done a number of different things, such as a rapid response vehicle, which has made our time frame much faster on getting to people who need help. In the police area, we've done areas such as community policing. And the last thing that we've done is we focused on flooding and power. And in the 7th Ward, we've dealt with both of those 2 areas, and I've been instrumental in both of those. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move into the question and answer phase. We're going to begin with candidate Sutherland, and this is one of the questions that they had in advance. How should the City Council balance efforts to maintain Elmhurst character with the need to foster growth and development?
Thank you. Fostering growth and development is critical to meet the changing needs and desires of residents today and tomorrow, and to also bring in visitors and tourists from other areas. This grows our tax base, which reduces our reliance on property taxes, keeps businesses open and afloat, and keeps our charming town vibrant and thriving. To support this balance, residents need to be included in the long-term strategic planning of our city. Any new residential developments that add population density need to consider whether the school district can take in additional students. The city would also need to conduct traffic studies and explore other avenues to alleviate traffic and parking congestion, look into adding more bike lanes, and increase public transportation options. In addition, the development should allow for ample green space and sunlight, as it's beneficial for our overall health and quality of life.
Okay, and candidate Varimas, same question. How do you balance the Elmhurst character with the need to foster growth and development?
Thank you. As an alderman, I have met with countless residents and business owners and listened to their ideas and concerns about development. Elmhurst is a sophisticated, sought-after community for several reasons, including the character and uniqueness of our different neighborhoods. As a resident for over 2 decades, I understand how important maintaining the character of Elmhurst is to our history. To remain an outstanding community, we must continue updating and increasing sub-area plans, such as our downtown plan. These plans help guide our development and should include resident input. Development should be consistent with updated plans and made with quality building materials to ensure developments age gracefully and maintain high standards. Furthermore, reviewing and updating our zoning on a regular basis will help us adapt to changing needs and long-term planning. We must also continue working with consultants to determine how quickly we can absorb development. As a resident and alderman, I have and will continue to advocate for responsible growth and thoughtful planning.
Okay, candidate Medding, same question.
Thank you. Elmhurst has shown over its history that it can adapt and yet remain a distinctive place to live and work. My belief is that the city needs to be willing to consider strategic economic development in order to continue to be a desirable location. We can consider ideas that exist within our strategic plan and sub-area plans to keep the character of Elmhurst. Elmhurst must remain a welcoming community to all populations. As such, we must continually evaluate our portfolio and availability of housing services. Our growth, new initiatives, leadership, and vision will allow us to consider new concepts and in the future and make prudent and purposeful decisions. And it is important to hear all voices of the community.
Okay, candidate Schenkel.
Elmhurst is fortunate to have 9 different business sectors spread throughout the city. We also have a very low vacancy rate, as many businesses want to be here and generally do very well. However, balancing growth and development with the effort to maintain the character of downtown and other areas of the Elmhurst business districts change with time, as what residents find appealing at one time may no longer apply later. In December 22, a referral was submitted to review the long-term downtown design and urban planning. This will be an extensive review of the outdoor spaces and services for residents, businesses, and visitors to benefit the city's economy and align with the strategic plan. However, Elmhurst should not lose sight of the business spaces in other areas of the city, especially as we try to encourage a more walkable, bikeable Elmhurst, and know that many neighborhood business districts were not included in the last economic development plan. All of these things can only be done through fostering relationships in the business community and highlight that all of Elmhurst is a great place to live, work, and thrive. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby, same question.
Yeah, Barb, could you read the question again, just for my clarity and the audience? Thank you.
You got it. How should the city council balance efforts to maintain Elmhurst character with the need to foster growth and development?
Great, thank you. The City of Elmhurst, the Park District, School District, and private landowners are all stewards of our open lands, our residential charm, and the downtown high-density residential towers. Open land not only represents about 8% of what's left in Elmhurst on open land. We should not be building on more open lands, and if so, last resort to maintain our stormwater drainage and capacity. All development should comply with the current laws and ordinances. Conditional use for residential high density should require compliance with affordable housing state law regardless of home rule. Naperville has a new ordinance recently passed and is a great model to emulate. Non-compliance with the state law should require developers to pay higher impact fees on top of building permits that will assist with our high stormwater debt repayments that we're quite attuned to today. Base impact fees need to be increased so that our current Elmhurst charm stays available and affordable for all ages and not just for the wealthier with a teardown. Strong middle class resurgence must begin to keep Elmhurst balanced as it was 29 years ago when I moved. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Mulliner.
Economic development is a critical component of making sure that we have a good, vibrant community. Having grown up here in the 1980s, you would have been able to roll a bowling ball down York Road and not hit a single person. Because of the fact that we did a number of things such as TIF districts, and we continue to do those, and we used them appropriately, you'll see that our downtown has not only grown, but become a very vibrant downtown. We've adapted through the years. I remember days when people would tell me, how come there are so many bagel shops in downtown? Now you go downtown and you'll look and you'll see you have a vibrant downtown with restaurants growing, and you'll see the malls are dying, and in the city of Elmhurst, we're still growing. In addition to the downtown, there's a number of different areas in Elmhurst that we really need to focus on, and I feel that one of the areas that we really need to put time into is the industrial parks. We haven't focused enough in those areas, and we need to put more time and effort into those. We do have a great community. Everybody wants to come here, so we need to provide those opportunities, but we need to make sure that we do it with a balanced view of what we're doing in the city of Elmhurst.
Okay, candidate Fazzini, your last chance.
I agree, especially with Sutherland. I think we need to make sure that our city is prepared for more people and for more increases in population density. Just look at like York Road. It's very hard for people who with disabilities and the elderly to find parking in that area. I talked to a couple in my ward saying that they had to go all the way to near North Avenue in order to park. And I think if we're going to increase our like for residential buildings, then we need to make sure that our city is prepared for it and that the residents can accommodate themselves with the city and its changes, as well as the city accommodating to their changes.
Okay, and now we move to our next question, and we're going to begin with candidate Varimus. As an alderman, what would be your top goal or initiative for improving our city?
The top goal would be having safe streets, and that means traffic and safety, that means our potholes, our infrastructure, the quality of life for our residents. Currently, we're undergoing revamping our wastewater treatment facility, and that brings clean water to our residents, and that keeps our community healthy. So infrastructure and traffic and safety, we've made great strides with that, but we have to keep doing more to ensure that people are safe when they're walking, biking, commuting, and
Okay, candidate Medding, your top initiative or goal?
Yes, my top initiative is in strategic economic growth to help keep our tax dollars low. This allows the taxes that we do pay to go directly to fund our school system, our nationally ranked library, our park district, and emergency services. This is what helps keep Elmhurst the community that people want to keep coming to visit, and ultimately to live in.
Okay, candidate Schenko.
My top goal would be more inclusion, to bring more people to the decision-making process, whether that be creating new commissions or creating new priorities. It would be better to have more people involved throughout the district, throughout the city, throughout the wards, and not keep seeing all the same names involved. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby, your top goal or initiative?
Thank you. A little mixed up on the question, sorry about that. Since I've had the sustainability task force experience, I see that as a big issue that I can push along with the water from the DuPage Water Commission. So as a sustainability person on the task force, we should implement a way to have legs on that task force report. That would mean actually having a person paid or incentivized with lower cost for the city and our real estate taxes lowering by that person finding and we agreeing to those sustainability items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Candidate Mulliner?
The top issue, I would believe, is public safety at this point. We're seeing significant changes in the way operations go, and I believe right now we need to really focus on everything that we can do in order to provide opportunities for our police to be trained in how to de-escalate as many things as they can. Our police are terrific at doing this right now, but I think that they need as much training and opportunity as they can. I think that in the fire department area, we need to make sure that we're providing them with all the training necessary that they need in order to make sure that we keep people safe. And I think the other thing that we need to really focus on is we also need to maintain and continue to maintain a strategic plan that plays right into public safety at this point. Roads all play into public safety. Water movement plays into public safety. Keeping water off the streets, providing access so flooding doesn't happen. These are all things that relate specifically to public safety. So I think we need to really stay focused on public safety as our primary focus.
Okay. Candidate Fazzini?
Well, part of my main platform is homeowner autonomy. One of those things include the allowing for people to put chicken coops in their backyard. This is actually something that my friend's dad wanted to do, and it was actually in Ward 7. He wanted to put a chicken coop in his backyard, and the city would not allow him to do that. Now we're in a time where it's like we're insane inflation, and we had a national egg shortage. A fire recently, conveniently, just in Connecticut, killed over 100,000 chickens. And the city instead, I'm curious if the city would still uphold that opinion that that he should not be allowed to put a chicken coop in his backyard. I think anyone should be able to do what they want on their own property as long as it's not hurting anyone else. Groceries are more expensive now, and allowing that for people to put their own personal gardens, chicken coops as an example, would allow people to spend less on groceries.
Okay. Candidate Sutherland?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Absolutely. So as an alderman, what would be your top goal or initiative for improving our city?
Thank you. So my top goal for the city would be our fiscal responsibility. For the 2023 budget, we're operating on a deficit where our budgeted expenditures actually exceed our budgeted revenues. In order to make up the shortfall, the city is dipping into the reserves in order to cover that. However, if we continue on this path, we'll deplete our reserves by 2024. With potentially an upcoming recession along the way, we need to be more responsible with how we are funding our city services in order to continue to meet the expectations of the city residents. In addition, I would like to look at more progressive ways to fund our city so we're not unduly burdening our residents with property taxes or other regressive forms of taxation. I'd like to look into other opportunities to relieve some of that burden for our residents, as affordability and inflation is a big issue right now for residents everywhere, and I think as a city we need to do a better job about that. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving to candidate Medding, and I'm going to go back to another one of the questions that they had in advance. How will you address the city's $13 million shortfall due to the completed stormwater projects? Moving forward, how will you ensure equitable stormwater management for all of Elmhurst neighborhoods and residents?
I want to compliment the current and past city councils and staff for their diligent attention to the flooding issues within Elmhurst. This funding shortage must be viewed as a result of necessary city expenses for these projects. Over the long term, these projects not only save the city money, but are making a real day-to-day difference in the lives of our residents. Existing revenue from all possible sources will be considered. Capital improvement funds, federal, state, and county grants should be explored. Perhaps bonding rates can be adjusted or extended as well. City-owned property suitable for development could be considered for appropriate projects. I will listen and consider all valid ideas presented. We will solve this short-term funding problem together. As to equity, I am satisfied that city leadership can determine the next projects and locations. The city's record in this area is a strong one. However, Elmhurst must continue to make sure our investments are as equitably distributed and will benefit the entire community.
Okay, candidate Schenko, and I will repeat the question. How will you address the city's $13 million shortfall due to completed stormwater projects? Moving forward, how will you ensure equitable stormwater management for all of Elmhurst neighborhoods and residents?
Thank you. The flood remediation projects were paid for through general obligation bonds issued between 2015 and 2019. A revenue stream was created for the first two bonds issued through an increase in the sales tax. However, no revenue stream was defined for the other bonds issued, which is why last year the city used $13 million from the general fund to cover those obligations. The city has since hired a consulting company to review the issue and look at how to service the stormwater fund. From the Finance Committee, phase one for the consulting company is to complete a stormwater fee feasibility study. Given that the city has already hired a consulting company to start this process, I would like to see the results of their phase one report as to the fee structure, administrative costs, and allowances for homeowner property flood remediation before deciding whether this is something that I could support. In the meantime, there should be transparency to residents on the remaining flood remediation projects and when these will be completed. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby.
Yeah, thank you. Through all the COVID challenges, stormwater projects continued, and to date we've reached approximately $48 million of those projects. Past debts with unpaid debt principal during 2019 and 20 has left us with debt payments to budget of 3% on the general fund and 12.34 on the MUF. The debt service load is resulting in budget shortfall for the future until alternatives are formulated. We just talked about the report coming back. That'll be great to hear what that says. Overdevelopment has caused stormwater issues, cost, and corresponding debt that have burdened our ability to pay back the extra cost of these large projects without getting the funds and proper fees to handle the current obligations. Outside sales tax revenue was a key to cover that in the past that covers up to about $2 million. We now have a debt load of an extra $6 million with the continued extra projects. The city is now looking at options to liquidate land. We should look at other options. there's better options to going forward, like higher impact fees that will be examined hopefully in the report, so that the property taxes don't become the scapegoat. Thank you.
Okay, Candidate Mulliner?
Yeah, the $13 million shortfall at this point was, I would consider it a necessity throughout the city, but especially in the 7th Ward. In the 7th Ward, we took on flooding that was very significant, and we took a very aggressive approach to solving a lot of those problems. In order to pay down that debt, though, what's necessary at this point is to identify some sources of revenue. We have a number of different sources that are being reviewed right now. We have a process that's going through that's going to help us to identify what's the best solution for us. We did have a 1% or a 0.25% sales tax that was in place for a while. I consider that to be one of the better options that we have because it's paid for by a lot of people who don't live in Elmhurst. The negative side to it is that it does have a slight impact on the people who have businesses in the community. But long term, I consider that to be one of the better solutions, but we do have other options that we're looking at, and I'm waiting to hear the report back from the committee to determine what's the best solution.
Okay, Candidate Fazzini?
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How will you address the city's $13 million shortfall due to completed stormwater projects? Moving forward, how will you ensure equitable stormwater management for all of Elmhurst neighborhoods and residents?
Well, first of all, I think that we should probably review where current funding is, and that we need to, if it's considered, I consider it to be like wasteful, I think we should, or the rest of the council considers it wasteful, we should redirect it toward that. I think that'd be one way to do it. I agree with Alderman Mulliner that, or Mr. Irby, that property taxes shouldn't be a scapegoat for the current issue. I like to think that in my ward that it's that flooding is it's a controlled issue, so that way we're not struggling with flooding right now, but like that's going to absolutely change in the future. We need to make sure we're prepared for that. I think that we need to make sure that our storm drains are maintained a lot closer and a lot better.
Okay, Candidate Sutherland?
When the stormwater projects were approved, the council did not consider a long-term revenue stream to fund it. And since then, the current council hasn't made much progress. At least one alderman was considering selling green space near the site of the old Elmhurst Hospital against residents' wishes. In order to close the shortfall, I would like to see, 1, what other city-owned parcels are available to be sold instead of green space that residents enjoy. 2, the results of the stormwater fee study and the various ways that it can be structured so it's equitable across residents, such as progressive water usage, size of property, or exemptions for seniors. And 3, other revenue streams at our disposal, such as the property transfer tax, which has not been updated in 30 years. But going forward, we need to prioritize areas and neighborhoods that endure the most stormwater issues and build safeguards to prevent future issues. Developments that increase stormwater usage will also need to be assessed appropriately for the impact that it's creating so we don't run into further problems down the road.
Okay, Candidate Veremis?
Thank you. Over the life of the current debt, there is a $3 million shortfall and an $11 million gap between home rule sales tax and debt service until 2036. We have to manage cash flow until then. In 2015, the city issued bonds to fund significant stormwater projects totaling over $50 million that have yet to be paid by the property taxpayer, but rather funded through home rule sales tax. Unfortunately, more than that source is needed to cover stormwater debt and future projects. We are looking at several revenue solutions on how to be fair to our residents. One solution is implementing the stormwater utility fee, which is more complicated but closely tied to the amount of runoff the property creates. Another potential funding source is the sale of city-owned properties throughout the city that are not directly connected to the city's mission and may or may not fund the entire shortfall. City staff and Public Works Committee have prioritized future projects, and we have secured over $3 million in grant money allocated to those projects. The 5-year capital improvement plan is updated and reviewed annually by City Council, and that framework is used to create the annual capital budget. As Alderman, I will carefully consider all options and ensure we do our due diligence and that a funding mechanism is equitable and sustainable for all residents. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to begin a new question with candidate Shanko, and this is similar to one of the questions that someone in the public just turned in. But should the City Council reconsider allowing gaming machines and/or cannabis dispensaries within city limits? Why or why not?
I think that that would have to be a voter or a resident decision, and based on what the residents want. We would also need to look at what the impact would be overall to the city, from a policing perspective, from a location perspective, and what other communities have seen as they have been impacted by having either marijuana dispensaries and video gaming. It would be a very nice revenue stream, potentially, but there also could be costs on the backside that we may not see.
Okay, candidate Irby, same question. Should the city council reconsider allowing gaming machines and/or cannabis dispensaries within city limits? Why or why not?
Great question. I am a proponent. The answer is yes, we should reconsider it, pending that it goes through the proper channels, both for gaming. Maybe we should separate the two, gaming from cannabis, and have those as separate items. The revenue stream could be sizable, could be over $1 million, could be up to maybe $3 or $4 million. Those records and research will be done in our neighboring communities, how they're doing. So I guess the conclusion is, yeah, I would be perfectly agreeing to let the city have a referendum or a vote, but it would need to take a lot of public comment to feel comfortable without a referendum vote. Thank you.
Candidate Mulliner?
Do I think we should reconsider gaming and cannabis? I'm going to separate the two because I think that they are distinctly different. I believe that we should reconsider both of them. And on the gaming side, the issue in my mind is more of an equitable situation than it is anything else. Every community surrounding Elmhurst has gaming, and it's having a negative impact on some of our restaurants that are out there and some of the bars that are out there. So I think we need to at least look at that on the equitable standpoint as far as making it so that we have a level playing field for everyone who is interested in having something. On the cannabis side, that's a different story because that, in my opinion, to this date is still a gateway drug. I consider that to be an opportunity for things to move in the direction that it will become problematic down the road as it relates to drug abuse. Okay,
candidate Fazzini?
I would probably say, when you say game, I'm assuming gambling. I would probably, if you're a restaurant, you want to put that on your property, that's your prerogative. I wouldn't recommend it because I don't think alcohol and gambling go together very well. In terms of the marijuana dispensary, I don't smoke, I don't drink. It's more my choice. But again, if you want to light up a joint, that's again your prerogative. I don't consider it a gateway drug. In fact, I consider it an exit drug. I think it's one of it has more benefits to an addict's health than it does harm. We have repeated studies that show that it's actually used for like CBD oil for like treating cancers or anorexia. I would also say that it's one of the least addictive drugs. Again, I don't smoke, so I can't say for experience, but again, I see no problem with adding those into our community.
Okay, candidate Sutherland?
I think we should reconsider and also consider what the residents would like as well, and look into what are the associated costs and what other impacts would have on the city for both gambling and cannabis. I'm not opposed to either one, but it would need to be done well. We need to look at what other communities have done and learn from anything that they have done, and learn from them and be able to move forward in a responsible way.
Candidate Verimas?
Thank you. So as far as gaming goes, I have heard from fellow business owners throughout the last couple of years that the impact of the cost of goods, the labor cost, it is really impacting their business, especially that neighboring communities do allow gaming, and they feel that this would help them bridge that gap. Again, I'm not really sure how I feel about gaming per se, but it's something that I would like to hear from with the residents and what their feedback is. Is this something that we would like in our community, and how do we feel about it? As far as cannabis goes, I do agree with Alderman Mulliner. I do view it as a gateway drug, but I do know that it has now been legal in the state for some time, and There is data that we can pull. We can see what the impact has been to surrounding communities. We can see how it has maybe financially benefited them and has affected their public safety. And again, I would want to hear residential feedback and what's important to them, and if this is something they'd like to see in our community. Thank you.
Candidate Medding?
Yes, I know on multiple occasions the City Council has discussed these topics and they voted to not allow either in the community. If the citizens of Elmhurst want these topics revisited, then I think the council should be open to doing so. This could possibly even be something that we put to a referendum to see if there's a real desire for them.
Okay, now we're going to start with our next question with candidate Irby, and this is from the public. How will you address and take care of the special needs population, such as those with disabilities?
Great question. My oldest son was an 8th percentile at York High School and had an IEP, so my first experience with District 205 in schools was a little bit rough. And it's like the empty bird nest syndrome where the other siblings want to get rid of the weaker. And so I have a big heart for anyone who has a disability, myself included. So to make that work, we need to have a discussion. We need to have an awareness and education. Those are the big ones. It's always awareness and education of items where people are afraid of it. Disability is one of those. And fighting the school district with some of those issues can be quite delicate. So we'll have to be respectful of those issues and go forward. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Mulliner?
Could you repeat the question?
How will you address and take care of the special needs population, such as those with disabilities?
Thank you. The special needs population is near and dear to my heart as well. There's I consider two main prongs of it. One of them is physical disabilities and the other is mental disabilities. Both need to be addressed. I think we've been working very hard as it relates especially to handicapped people who have a difficult time getting up and down sidewalks, etc. So they have the ability to be able to do that because we've changed a lot of our ramps. We're trying to make sure that every building is accessible, even some of the older ones. You'll notice that a lot of churches are now changing. A lot of the older churches did not have stairs to get in. Those things are beginning to be changed. On the mental side of it, that's an area where I think we need to have a lot of discussion, and I believe part of the discussion we need to have there is how public safety and how the public perceives people who have those type of disabilities. They need to make sure that we're protecting those children and those adults who have disabilities. One of the suggestions that we have is that maybe what we need to do is, if a child, as an example, is autistic, maybe we need to have a sticker that's on a car so that as you walk by the car as a police officer, you know that this person has got a disability, and they know right away that they need to help and handle the situation differently.
Okay, candidate Fazzini?
Well, I think it's like you got physical or mental disabilities. For physical, I would probably say we need to make sure that ours, especially downtown, is able to accommodate residents who are physically disabled, whether it be mainly for example, parking, especially by areas like the city center or the Elmhurst Theater in that area. When it comes to special needs, I think I've never heard that idea about the sticker on the car. I think that's a great idea to avoid any violent altercation with law enforcement. When it comes to, especially in school, I think we need to have greater discussion, because I don't think because there are people who don't have kids with special needs that are coming up with ideas, but at the same time there are people with kids with special needs that don't really have a say. So I think it's really important that we have a discussion as a community so we can learn more and compromise and come together with solutions for students with or children with disabilities.
Okay, candidate Varimas, your thoughts on special needs?
Did you want to go with?
Oh, I skipped one, sorry.
That's okay.
Candidate Sutherland.
Yes. I think as a society, people with special needs sometimes are forgotten about, whether the disability is physical, mental, or even invisible. I think something that the city can do first is have an awareness about it, having a commission to understand the issues and the concerns that the special needs community needs, and work together with the community in order to address them. In addition, we also need to make sure that our physical spaces are accessible to all, whether it's, businesses, whether it's public spaces. People need to be able to move around freely from point A to point B without, fear of any safety issues whatsoever. In addition, I think, with mental health too, we could do more with mental health. Maybe we need to have more services, whether it's within our library department, which has social services, and make people aware that these are available for residents to use. And so we can, as a society, move forward with living together accessibly.
And now candidate Remus, thank you.
Thank you. I've heard from a number of residents over the last year that as it pertains to physical disabilities, it's hard for them to maneuver on the pavers in downtown Elmhurst. They said when you have a walker or a cane, crutches, it is very hard to get around. So as we go forward with our downtown planning, which we're currently looking at, replacing that with something that's going to be easier to walk on is definitely something to consider. I've also been working with our city engineers to increase accessible parking spaces on Addison Street. Currently, there are no handicap parking on that street, and it's very difficult for people to use the garage and get in and out. So I've been advocating for that, and hopefully we're going to see those changes pretty soon. And also, as we see new development, including some incentives with developers like Naperville has just done recently to have more accessibility in their buildings and have units for disabled folks.
Okay, candidate Medding, special needs.
Yes, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. My sister-in-law has special needs. My wife and I both served on the board of the Trinity Volunteer Corps at Old St. Pat's Church in the city, and my wife is on the board of Access Sports, and we're both sponsored that organization as well. I think the main goal is inclusion is paramount for that community. We need to be more open as a community. I know since I've graduated from the Elmhurst Public Schools, the district has improved their stance on this issue, but there is always room for improvement, and as Alderman, I will be pushing that improvement.
Candidate Schenkel.
Yes, so as far as, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
How will you address and take care of the special needs population, such as those with disabilities?
Thank you. So disabilities can be seen and unseen, and including in a strategic plan and being aware of what is happening, making sure our buildings are ADA compliant and sidewalks are accessible, but also mental health is a priority, especially post-COVID. Students, the IEP process at the school district is better, but you don't always know what someone is going through, and you don't always know what is happening with another person. So just being more open and more inclusive overall should be a priority for everyone.
Okay. Now we're going to move to candidate Mulliner, and this question again is from the audience, and we're sticking with inclusion. What strategies would you suggest for the city to actively support LGBTQ and individuals and families in order to demonstrate a collective community effort toward inclusion?
Elmhurst has been a community that has been inclusive since I was raised here. We've had different groups of people who have lived in the community, and they've been included in all different activities. Does not matter whether they're different color, different ethnicity, different sexual orientations. We've worked very hard to make sure that people are all included in Elmhurst, and I would continue to support any efforts to make sure that we have an inclusive community.
Okay, candidate Fazzini.
Just say treat them like a human being. Like, it's just, if someone tells me like you're gay, so if you're gay, so what? Like, I could care less as long as someone's like not generally pleasant to be around. I don't think LGBTQ people need to be treated with kid gloves, while at the same time, because they're not made of glass, they're tough people. At the same time, I don't think that you should treat them any less than you would treat anyone else. They're human beings. I don't know how else to treat them like you would as a stranger holding the door open for them. I don't get why anyone would treat them less. I don't get why anyone would treat them as if they're somehow better or worse than anyone else.
Okay. Candidate Sutherland?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. What strategies would you suggest for the city to actively support LGBTQ and individuals and families in order to demonstrate a collective community effort toward inclusion?
Great, thank you. The LGBT community faces discrimination in housing, in businesses and employment, and others in the community. I think it's extremely important that as a city that we do come together and support our LGBTQ members of the community. Some strategies that I think we can support. The state of Illinois has a lot of laws that protect LGBTQ, the LGBTQ community. However, I think things that as a city we can do, definitely have more awareness, having a commission where we do learn from the community themselves and hear their concerns, hear their thoughts, and what we can do to help support them. But also, making sure that businesses have available bathrooms for, gender, non-binary, and our trans community members. The state of Illinois passed a law that all single-stall bathrooms are to be non-gender, but many businesses still have gendered bathrooms, and that'd be one way to help our LGBTQ community.
Okay, Candidate Verimis?
Thank you. I want to give you some background information. I have worked in the beauty industry for over 25 years, and our industry was at the forefront of diversity and acceptance. It's one of the things I loved most about the industry. We were always a safe space for individuals to be who they wanted without judgment. I have worked with and serviced all types of people through the years, and these are my friends, professionally and personally. I wholeheartedly believe that people should be treated equal. And I choose to live in Pick subdivision. It's one of the most diverse neighborhoods in Elmhurst, where many families and neighbors are included in the LGBTQ+ community. These are my friends, neighbors, and part of my social circle. There is no place for discrimination of any kind, and we need to make people feel as welcomed as possible. I support Mayor Levin and his proclamation a couple years ago, and I support it this year. I think our Pride Collective has done an outstanding job in the community, and they need our support going forward, and we should reference them as we have decisions to be making. Thank you.
Okay, Candidate Medding?
Yes, as Alderman Verimis just said, in 2021, Mayor Scott Levin presented Elmhurst's first ever Pride Month proclamation. I would support another mayoral proclamation. I would also support broad education, awareness programs within Elmhurst, stressing acceptance, and better understanding of the LGBTQ+ issues.
Candidate Schenko?
Yes. I will support public initiatives and to be open to conversations to hear more about any initiatives that the community may have or community organizations such as the Pride Collective beyond Pride Month, and support any future proclamations as well.
Okay, Candidate Irby?
Oh, thank you. Great question. A history lesson might be good here, in that in 1954, here in Elmhurst, you could not buy a piece of land or live in a house if you were a person of color. That was an ordinance right here on this body, on this dais. That was not repealed until 1969, 1 year after Martin Luther King died, 4 days after that Civil Rights Act was passed, which gave minimal protected class standards. So we are moving slowly. First step, Mayor Levin, that I know of, made a proclamation to support the LGBTQ community, which I applaud. So our history here is not pretty. We only have 1% black population. Area has 8. So LGBTQ ties in just like all the other populations. They're not unique. but they are special. So thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to begin again with candidate Fazzini. There's another question from the public. Have you ever been involved with any organization that has called for defunding the police or more restorative justice practices?
Can you read the question one more time?
Have you been involved with any organization that has called for defunding the police or more restorative justice practices?
I've not been affiliated with any organization specifically. I have called for defunding police who have failed to uphold their constitutional duty, particularly when they during lockdowns in other states. I believe that they completely overstepped their bounds. They followed unconstitutional orders from Democrat governors, particularly in Michigan and California and New York, and I believe that they failed their communities, and I don't think they should receive any. They should receive taxpayer money when they're actively oppressing the taxpayer. But when it comes to cops who do their job, I have nothing but respect for them. For restorative justice, I think that there is a big problem right now. I don't believe it's more by race, but it's much more about class. I think that we need greater reform in our criminal justice system, but it's not effectively affected by race, but it's by class.
Okay, candidate Sutherland.
Okay. So let's define what defunding the police mean. Over the last several decades, the police departments have been taking on many responsibilities that are outside of just public safety. They answer calls for all sorts of reasons, like mental health concerns or anything that may not fall under the purview of what a police officer should do. Defunding the police would mean let's take some of the funding that is available for police and put it into other resources like social services or housing or anti-poverty, things that can be addressed directly instead of funneling it into the police department, which may not be the best the best use of the funds. So in that sense, yes, defunding the police and restorative practice is something that communities should embrace, as it does impact the community in a positive and productive way, and we should all be looking to use our funding and our resources responsibly.
Thank you. Candidate Remus.
Thank you. The Elmhurst Police Department's mission is to provide the best, which is precisely what they do. Our new police chief is actively involved in our community and holds the department to very high standards. We participate in supplemental training through HR with city employees in conjunction with their annual training. Last year, our police department had over 40,000 incidences, and out of that, 0.0003% involved force. Our new state law requires police officers wear cameras by 2025. That was actually put in our 2023 budget, and we're going to see that a year and a half sooner in Elmhurst, and I fully support that. Also, our Elmhurst Police Department is a Tier 1, and they are an accredited agency for law enforcement, and I think that they do an outstanding job of protecting us, and I fully support them. Thank you.
Candidate Medding.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. Have you ever been involved with any organization that has called for defunding the police or more restorative justice practices?
I have not, and as I said in my opening statement, in the fall of 2021, I actually participated in the Elmhurst Citizens Police Academy, which is a free service for all citizens of Elmhurst, because I wanted to learn more about how our police department functions and how they protect our community. I would strongly recommend everyone in this community participating in this great educational experience, because you get firsthand knowledge of what it is that our police officers do and what they experience on a daily and nightly basis.
Okay, next candidate.
Yes, so I do agree with, so to answer the question, no. But I do agree with candidate NG in that we do need to look at what the term means. in that it's not about taking money away from the police and what they do, but it's about putting money where it needs to go. And that money needs to go to social services, health services, and other areas to support our residents better so that the police department does not need to show up at their door to begin with. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby?
Oh, thank you. To answer the question, no, I have not. The defunding is an inappropriate word. We here on the city council, if you elect me, we decide budgets and expenses from the revenues, and we make a balanced budget. The police department is one of those items. It represents 29% of the total payroll expenditures in 2020. That number today is 32.1. So it's gone from 29 to 32 in a matter of 3 years. Now, you may ask why. I don't know, because I wasn't on the city council. So the point is, we have to look at the expenses of the police and the fire, and we need to equitably balance them. So that will be my goal, to make sure that the fire department, per se, gets defibrillators maybe, and maybe we don't need the $2 million over here for the police. So it's a question of equity here on the council. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Mulliner?
The answer to the question is no. I will tell you that the Elmhurst Police Department is the finest police department in DuPage County, the state of Illinois, and as far as I'm concerned, the United States. We have been probably one of the most progressive police departments that there is in the United States. Back 30 years ago plus, we implemented the first social service program that was around the area. At the time, our police chief was John Milner, and he said, you know what, we have incidents that we address on a periodic basis that need to have a social worker come in rather than a police officer. So at that time, we put in a social worker, and we've continued to have that service from that day forward. I would tell you that the other thing about our police department is it's a phenomenal police department when it comes to community outreach. We do community roll calls. I will echo what Jake Medding said, and that is that the Citizens Police Academy is one of the best outreaches that there could possibly be, and I would strongly suggest that everybody take that program if they can.
Okay.
Can I clarify something?
Pardon me?
Clarify something?
Not now, but you will get a closing statement. And I want to point out there are some seats in the front for those of you who have come in. Okay, and now we're going to move to the next question with candidate Sutherland. Would you support utilizing taxpayer funds to support the Elmhurst Center for Performing Arts?
I don't know enough about how much they would need and what they are looking to do with the funds. I support investing in the arts, and I support anything that brings in visitors and tourists, and makes the community just something for a community to do. I support that in general, but I would like to see what the reason for the funds and how we can make sure that it's being used responsibly.
Okay, candidate Verimas.
Thank you. I'm going to agree with Angie on this. I agree. I support investing in the arts. I think it'd be great for our community. I know downtown Des Plaines revamped their theater down there, and the city did contribute to some of those funds because that was vacant for several years. Metropolitan, I believe is the name of it, in Mount Prospect. That has served them well down there. But as far as the ask, it would just depend on what the ask is and what the center would be looking to accomplish with those funds, and ultimately, how much does it benefit the residents of Elmhurst? Thank you.
Okay. Candidate Medding, would you support utilizing taxpayer funds to support the Elmhurst Center for Performing Arts?
As pretty much everyone else said, I would need to look into this issue further to have a definite answer, but I think a performing arts center would greatly do great things for our community, and I'd support that, but I'd have to look into the actual funding issue further.
Okay. Candidate Schenko?
Yes, to everyone else.
Okay.
That a center will benefit the residents and the city, but without knowing what the request is for or how much they're asking for, I would not know how to answer that question.
Okay. Candidate Irby?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I would not want to use the money. And the reason why is because I've had children go through the performing arts at York High School. It's a phenomenal program. I've had one of my children play on the Elmhurst Symphony. So I know that Elmhurst is such a vibrant community with its music, because I know these people, they know me, the kids are great, the adults are great, the senior citizens who play are great. So I'm positive that if we had a symphony, that they would pay for themselves.
Okay,
Simple as that. And it would actually create them more revenue and bring more stuff to Elmhurst. So we will team with them, but I don't see any reason for taxpayer dollars. Elmhurst is rich enough as it is. When I say rich, meaning performing arts wise. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Mulliner.
I would have to echo the fact that I do support the arts. I think it's a great opportunity. I, too, would have to review what the ask is, because that's the most important thing, is what are they asking for? I think that if it has a public benefit to us, I think that that's where we could do some investment using TIF dollars. It's very important that we delineate that it would be TIF dollars that would be used. I'll give an example. If they were to build the Performing Arts Center at the corner of York and First and Addison, we may have an opportunity to take the donut hole, which people have heard me talk about for decades, and make it into a park, which to me is an appropriate thing to do. And if we did that, to provide access to the Performing Arts Center so that they could perform inside and outside, would draw more people and create a much more vibrant community than what we we have a good one right now, but it would add to that. I will also just mention, historically, the first time that we did this was the York Theater. It brought back the downtown. We invested $2 million in York Theater, and it brought downtown back to what it is today.
Okay, candidate Fazzini.
I have to echo, parrot what everyone else is saying. I think we need to review what the asking price is. I think residents should know whether or not they're getting the bang for their buck for the event. I think that it should really come down to the residents of each ward. Do you want your tax money going to this? And we also need to review, is the revenue being generated from the event coming back to the taxpayer? And I think that's what needs to be reviewed.
Okay, this is going to be our final question, and then we're going to have closing statements. And I'm going to begin with candidate Varimus, and it's the third question that you had in advance. And it is this. Several DuPage communities feature commissions or paid staff who are tasked with furthering environmental sustainability. If elected, how will you encourage the integration of a similar entity into Elmhurst city government?
Thank you. As an elected City Center board member, I served as the liaison to the Cool Cities Coalition and spearheaded Keep Elmhurst Vibrant to oppose a development along the Salt Creek Trail and Forest Preserve, partly because of the potential environmental impact. Most importantly, I learned more about community initiatives and ways to improve environmental stewardship. The city has a sustainability action plan, and I have spoken with colleagues about ways to establish a working group. Our Public Works Committee has done a stellar job of actively pursuing sustainable options when applicable, such as hybrid and EV vehicle replacements. A working group could serve in an advisory role to provide best practices, new opportunities, and alternatives. Elmhurst is fortunate to have engaged residents and community partners. A working group could attend events in conjunction with community alliances. We can build outreach, education, and participation to include our business community, specifically regarding recycling. I know as a business owner, I had to take my recycling home rather than throw it in a shared dumpster because there wasn't a recycling option. As an alderman, I will continue working to achieve sustainable goals to ensure that the sustainability plan keeps moving forward. Thank you.
Candidate Medding?
Yes, the environment is the issue of our time. We cannot wait. We must do careful planning, research, and enact programs that help Elmhurst do its part. The Sustainability Action Plan, adopted in March of 2018, is comprised of goals and strategies that support sustainable practices and continues to guide the city's decision-making process in these areas moving forward. As with our successful storm management projects, the City Council and staff must consider what new steps should be taken to strengthen our environmental stance. If that requires additional city staff, I would be open to that discussion.
Candidate Schenkel?
Yes, I would support the creation of a sustainability commission. The Sustainability Task Force created a Sustainability Action Plan, which was presented in 2018 and is meant to be updated every 5 years. The action plan contains several goals and initiatives, many of which have been met. A fully defined commission, though, would allow for longer-term goals and initiatives, greater follow-through on ideas, and the ability for commissioners to work closely with different city council members and committees as needed to accomplish great things for the city on a long-term basis. And the new commission could do much in updating the action plan or creating a new strategic plan on sustainability for the city to follow for the next 5 years.
Candidate Irby?
Yeah, thank you. As being a member of the task force for sustainability here for the city, I was helpful along more with my teammates in drafting that report. We spent thousands of hours, and so I'm quite intimate with the details of that report. So I think we need to go beyond a commission. I think we need a person who's staffed at the city, who is paid specifically from the savings, cost savings, and we'll call him the sustainability warrior. All capital expenditures would run through this office with an eye toward net cost savings, as I do for my clients in the business world. All contracts for services would be done the same. To wrap it up, sustainability savings would be its own dedicated account number in the city budget and be reported on annually so that we all have that transparency. Thank you.
Candidate Mulliner?
Yeah, we need to continue to focus on sustainability. We do have the report that came in, and we need to make sure that we're focused on that. Let me give you a little history of Elmhurst and what we've done historically with sustainability. The wastewater treatment plant creates a significant amount of gas, which everybody would be aware of. And years ago, and this was quite a number of years ago, we actually put in a generator that could use that gas to generate electricity. And the goal of that at that time was to make sure that we could produce the electricity to run the plant. We did that until ComEd lowered their price so much that we couldn't afford to do it anymore, and it made more sense to buy electricity. Just in the last month, we've restored that concept of going back to generate our own electricity. We also have put in a number of, almost all of our vehicles now that are non-emergency vehicles are hybrid. Almost all of our vehicles that are truck vehicles are currently natural gas vehicles. We have been moving forward with this concept all along, and I would hope that we would continue to it, and I would continue to echo that we need to be as sustainable as possible.
Okay, Candidate Fazzini.
Read the question.
Absolutely. Several DuPage communities feature commissions or paid staff who are tasked with furthering environmental sustainability. If elected, how will you encourage the integration of a similar entity into Elmhurst city government?
Probably we need to include it part of our sanitation program. I think that should be included. I currently work at a restaurant, and unfortunately, there are a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people throw easily recyclable items such as cardboard in the trash, and it disappoints me that not a lot of places have recycling. So that's one thing I think we need to severely look into. In terms of sustainability, everyone's being a lot more environmentally conscious about their decisions. People are buying easily disposable containers for food to go instead of styrofoam. I think it should just be generally that we need to definitely put like a new commission inside of our current sanitation program that Mr. Irby suggested. I wouldn't call it the warrior though.
All right, and Candidate Sutherland.
So environmental sustainability is absolutely crucial for the longevity of Elmhurst and for future generations of residents. So the city of Elmhurst adopted the sustainability plan in 2018, and it states the city is dedicated to the enhancement and protection of the immediate and long-term well-being of the city, its citizens, and its natural environment. When looking at other communities, the city of Wheaton included a strategic pillar focused on environmental sustainability, which guides their policy and budget priorities. In addition, they have an environmental commission made up of members of the community, and they advise the council on environmental-related subject matters. So while the city of Elmhurst does engage in many sustainable efforts already, I would encourage the creation of a commission made up of citizens. Similar to Wheaton, this would integrate direct input from the community to advise the council with the goal of setting budget priorities and initiatives to meet the mission that's defined in our sustainability plan.
Okay, that concludes the question and answer portion, and now the candidates each have 1 minute for a closing statement, and we're going to begin with candidate Medding.
Thank you. Elmhurst is a special place for me. I was born here, I received my education here, I met my wife here, and we have made Elmhurst our home. I've had many leadership opportunities to help prepare me for this role. My work on the Elmhurst Economic Development Commission and Elmhurst Heritage Foundation have given me knowledge of the city and the services it provides its citizens. Along with my leadership skills, I consider myself to be a problem solver and someone who is open to discussing solutions. I know I don't have all the answers, but what I do have is a great energy to serve Elmhurst. I believe in strategic economic growth to help keep our tax dollars low. This allows the tax we do pay to go directly to our school system, our nationally ranked library, our park district, and emergency services. I'm running for alderman because I love Elmhurst, I believe in Elmhurst, and I want to be part of the city's future. Thank you for your time here today. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you.
Okay, candidate Schenko, your closing statement.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to share my perspectives and to hear the perspectives of the other candidates for City Council. In my opinion, Elmhurst is already a great place to live, which is why my family and I stay and why so many people want to move here. I love being an active part of the community, and I want to make Elmhurst even better. My decision-making process has always been about being open-minded, doing my research, and collaborating with others. These are skills that I believe are essential in City Council leadership. In my work for the 2nd Ward and the City of Elmhurst, I will strive to ensure that Elmhurst remains the vibrant place that it is into the future. More information about me and my campaign can be found on my website. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Irby.
Thank you. What a great opportunity we all have to participate in this public forum. Expanding upon my experience, I've been involved in the local and state issues for the last 20 years. 2004, at D205, I was appointed to the Financial Task Force, making recommendations to the school board after full review of revenue and expenditures. I'm a proud Jackson art mom, PTA field day hornblower, 2008, contributor to the Smart Grid Energy Task Force for all of Illinois, which helped out Elmhurst quite a bit. 2015, Sustainability Task Force, I've hammered on that, thank you. 2018, founding member of the DuPage Clean Energy Coalition, worked collaboratively in DuPage and surrounding counties. Since that time, I've been involved with the City Council public comments, both in subcommittee and full council, and zoning board, working with Elmhurst Cool Cities and other key stakeholders. I am here for you. I will advocate for all of Elmhurst. I will earn and maintain your trust and would be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Candidate Mulliner, your closing statement.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. It's wonderful that you hold this event. In the past, we used to hold it on Thursday evenings. I thought that was wonderful because I like to have Sundays open for church. So I'd love to see us go back to a Thursday evening. At the same time, I'd like to thank the people who have been so instrumental in my life, and that's my wife, Barb, who has been extremely supportive, my son, Jason, and my daughter, Amanda, and her family. I just want to give you the fact that I've lived in Elmhurst. I have a great history in Elmhurst. My grandparents lived in Elmhurst. My parents lived in Elmhurst. I was born and raised in Elmhurst. My daughter's raising her family, and I hope soon my son will be as well. I love this town. There's a reason why you live in this town, and there's a reason why you moved to this town. And I've been very instrumental in providing those reasons because I'm the one who's been helping to drive it from behind the scenes. Thank you very much. Please, if you want to vote for me, look at my website. It's reelectmark.com. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Fazzini.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me and hosting today at City Hall on Sunday of all days, one of the few days I'm free. I just noticed that everyone got their questions in advance. I think I did a good job for my first debate ever without having my questions in advance. I've lived in the city for 19 years. I'm born and raised. I want everyone to know that my platform is to tough on crime, advancing individual liberty, and anti-tax. I'm the anti-tax candidate. Again, my name is Rian Fazzini. You can find out more about me on www.fazziniforalderman.net, or you can follow me on any of my social media. For example, if you want to ask me questions on Facebook or on Twitter, or email me, I will always be here to listen to my constituents' concerns.
Okay. Candidate Sutherland?
Great. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to participate in this forum. I like to say that Elmhurst is very notable for the number of residents that have lived here their entire lives, but also residents that moved here after growing up here, and then residents like myself who have moved from other towns. It shows how wonderful this community is and how it continues to grow. Elmhurst represents residents at various stages of their lives, and City Council should reflect the residents it serves. So as alderman, I will bring in a fresh voice and a diverse perspective, but also bring in the background and the creative problem-solving skills needed to meet the challenges of our growing city and our changing demographics. I represent a new and vibrant approach to city government where everyone's voice is heard and included, and we make decisions based on the best interests of residents today and tomorrow. For more information, my website is www.ngforalderman.org. Also on Facebook and Instagram my handle is @ngforalderman. I would be your choice for a strong and inclusive Elmhurst, and I would be honored to have your vote on April 4th to be your alderman in the 1st Ward. Thank you.
Okay. And candidate Veremis?
Thank you again to the League for hosting this forum. I deeply understand and love our community and have worked to make positive changes in Elmhurst for over a decade. My goal for the next 4 years is to maintain a solid financial position for future generations, reliable infrastructure, low vacancy rates in business districts, and safe neighborhoods. I am actively working on an innovative downtown plan and senior citizen programs. As your alderman, I understand the municipal process. As a longtime Elmhurst resident and small business owner, a volunteer for local committees and organizations, a member of business alliances, and a community advocate who has spearheaded improvements for our city, I'm the only candidate who has a vast understanding of our community from multiple perspectives. I have a record of accomplishments and a commitment to our future. My door is always open, I'm always accessible, and residents are free to reach out to me with questions at any time. I would be honored to be re-elected as your 1st Ward Alderman, and please visit my website, which is Veremis for Elmhurst, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank the candidates for participating. I would ask them to stay in their seats because what we're going to have now is a 3-minute statement from the candidate for Ward 6, which is Guido Nardini, to my right here. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst invited both aldermanic candidates for Ward 6, and candidate Laura Vevers was unable to attend. So the League, therefore, has an empty chair policy, which prohibits the sole candidate from participating in the forum, but they do invite them to give a 3-minute statement. So that's what we're going to go to now, and after that, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back at 2:30 with the Park District. Candidate?
Thank you, everybody. My name's Guido Nardini. I've got 3 minutes for you, and I wanted to take a second of that time to talk about the League of Women Voters. As I'm sure everybody in the room knows, but maybe not some of the people at home, is that the League of Women Voters does a pretty important job in the community. They're just a room full of people, most of them women, some of them guys, who allocate resources. They staff an observer to all the public meetings that take place in Elmhurst. I'm a resident here. The 3 places that can tax me are the Board of Ed, the Park District, and the City Council. And the League of Women Voters puts an observer at each one of those meetings. If I want to find out something that's going on in any public event in Elmhurst, I go to the League of Women Voters because they've staffed an observer, and that observer has written a report. In an era of diminishing or dying local media, that's a democracy if you can keep it. That's keeping the contract. So thank you, League of Women Voters. I'm here for 3 minutes and not answering questions and answers like the rest of my fellow candidates because my opponent chose not to show up. Showing up is the one thing that I can promise you. The term for alderman is 4 years, and there's no way of knowing exactly what Elmhurst will face in the next 4 years, but it most likely will be questions about development, questions about stormwater, and questions about paying for stormwater remediation. But there could be a COVID. There could be some completely unforeseen something. I've learned in business that no plan survives contact with the enemy. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because the number one credential or criterion I think that a candidate for office has is character and willingness to work. I was a kid in this town, and I went to Jefferson, Sandburg, York, and I want to be an adult in this town and serve this city. I will answer every call. I will take every text. I will read everything that the council puts in front of me. I will make a measured and considered vote on everything that the council puts in front of us. I grew up here, and I want to make Elmhurst as good or better for my boys as it was for me. Please vote for me. I'd be honored to serve you. Thanks.
Okay. And that concludes our candidate forum for City Council. I want to thank you, the public, for attending, being respectful, and remind you to please let your neighbors and friends know that they can observe this recording at elmhursttv.com. Also, it will be on the League of Women Voters website and YouTube channel. So with that, I say thank you, and we'll take a very short break and be back with the Park District candidates. Thank you.